Last class we dipped our toes into the data pool, right? And we learned how to import data, how to sort and filter it. Well, we're going to take a couple steps forward today and we're going to learn a few easy functions or formulas. And we're mainly interested in today's class in learning techniques on how to clean up data. Because as I said earlier, data is dirty. So before we do any kind of analysis, we need to clean it up. Before we get started on reviewing the homework though, why don't you, if you haven't already, go online and download the text file called Wake Gun Crimes and save it in your data class folder, and inside that folder maybe create another folder with today's date. That way we have that file ready to go when we want to play around with it. So let's go over the homework. Now, I'm going to walk through the steps. I'm going to import the data. I'm going to sort and filter it to answer all the questions. Follow along. Hopefully you got all the answers right. But either way, pay attention, because with data, practice makes perfect. And the more you import data, the more you sort and filter it, the better you'll be coming at it. So let's go. I'm going to go into the folder I want. And I'm going to create a new Excel document, and sometimes you can just right click and do File New, and I'm going to label this Mecklenburg Salaries. Okay, so this is my blank Excel document, and I have to first import the text file, the Mecklenburg Salaries text file. So how do I do that? I'm going to start up here, data, get data from text. Then I'm going to navigate to where I stored that text file. So let's go down here. And hopefully this is just a quick review for you all. Mecklenburg Salaries homework. And the data is importing. Okay, it was a tab delimited, and Excel guessed at it right, so that's terrific. It looks pretty clean to me, just 4 easy columns. And I'm going to click Load. Getting data. 5,560 rows were loaded, no errors, terrific. I'm going to close that out. And just because I like doing it, I'm going to get rid of the green banding. You can keep it if you want. I'm going to also get rid of the filter by going Home. I'm going to turn the filter off. Sort and filter. Filter. There we go. Now the first question asks, how many total county employees are listed in the data? Would you all put? And one, how'd you find that out as also? Well, the easiest way to do it, just simply scroll down. See how many records we have. So if you put 5,561, you'd actually be wrong. Remember, the first row is the column header. So the number of employees would be 5,560. In Excel, you have to subtract 1 for the header. Now, who was the highest paid county employee? I think this data actually came in sorted by salary. And let's see if that's actually correct. Right now, I have Dina DiOrio, the county manager, as the highest paid, but I'm going to sort it anyway just to make sure. So select all, sort and filter, custom sort, annual salary, largest to smallest. I'm at the top, salary at the top. Click OK, nothing's changed. So Dina DiOrio, county manager, made $312,000. She has the highest salary. Now who had the lowest salary? I could do this 2 ways. I could just go down to the bottom and check because it's already sorted. In this case, it's a lifeguard named Cody McNeil, $10,900. But just to practice, I'm going to sort this data from lowest to highest now. Custom sort, going to keep on salary, smallest to largest. And now everything should flip-flop. Let's scroll up top just to make sure. And there we go. Cody McNeil was the lowest paid. He was a lifeguard, probably worked part-time. Now, how much does Daniel Kidd make? Did any of you all have problems with that? This is something that I did not go over last class, and I wanted to see if you could figure it out on your own. Now, we have 5,000, give or take, employees. I could do it a couple different ways to find out Daniel Kidd. The longer of the two ways is sort it by name. And then this will at least put it in alphabetical order for me. Now I can scroll down to the D's. See if I can find them right away. Daniel Kidd, right there. He made $85,900. So that's one way to find him. The other way to find him is to highlight the column by clicking on the C in this case and do Control Left. Or in Mac users, it might be a little bit different. But a search and find, type in the last name, K-Y-D-D, find next. There you go, $85,900. Now I could type in Daniel, but obviously that'll pop up a lot of Daniel, so I chose the more unique part of his name. That's a search and find. And how many county employees earn more than $75,000? Did you all get that as well? Since the last class was just about sorting and filtering, this would be based on another sort. So highlight all your data, sort, custom sort. I want to get rid of the name, go back to the salary, largest to smallest, and again, Dina Diorio should be up top. That's correct. So how many made more than 75 grand in Mecklenburg County? Scroll down to 75. And looks like right there. Now how many you put 725? If you did, I got you again. It's 724 because remember the first row is a header. Subtract 1. And how many people work in the recycling operations department? Recycling operations department. So we're getting away from the sorting and we're going to go back to filtering. Remember how to filter? Click on a headline, sort and filter, filter. And remember with filtering, you don't have to select all. That gives us the filter boxes for each column. I'm looking at the department. I'm going to deselect all. I'm just going to scroll down to find recycling operations. See if I can find that. Getting close. Recycling center, recycling operations. Bingo. Okay. Now I just got recycling operations. Now I can't read right here because this is grabbing the old numbers from the main data set. You see there's still 5,100. So what I have to do is go back up to the top, click on a header, select all, copy it, Control C in my case, and let's paste that into a new spreadsheet. Control V. Okay. Now I just have recycling operations, and while I'm at it, I'm going to call this recycling. I'm going to call my main data sheet all. So just recycling operations. How many people work in recycling operations? 33. That's due to filter. Now the next question, how many people total work in either accounting or finance. Total work in either accounting or finance. I'm going to go back to my main table. I'm going to first kill off the filter by going back to sort and filter. Now Dina Diorio is back on top. I'm going to turn the filter back on, and I'm going to look at accounting and finance. Deselect all, select accounting, scroll down to the F's, select finance. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing as I did with the recycling operations. Select all, copy it, throw it into a new sheet, and paste it. There we go. I'm going to label this one while I'm at it. Account, finance, and the total number of people in accounting and finance, 45. Right there. 45 people in accounting and finance departments. Now, of these employees, who earns the most and who earns the least? Well, let's just sort it. It looks like it's sorted already, but just to be sure, I'm going to sort it again. Custom sort. Sort by annual salary. I'm going to do largest to smallest at first. So who earns the most? Finance department, Sarah Lindbergh. She owns $185,000. And just to see who makes the least amount, in the accounting department, Lori Petrie. She earns $35,700. Now, how'd y'all do? Is it easy, hard? Any questions or concerns? Please let me know. Again, if you have a different version of Excel, some of these tools might be slightly different, but not much. Hopefully this is a good review. Hopefully you feel good about moving forward. Let's stick with this Mecklenburg data, right? As I said, most data is dirty, so you almost always, before you analyze it, have to clean it up in some way. Now, what do I mean by cleaning it up? Well, you might have to get rid of duplicates. You might have to change the spelling of some things. You might have to separate columns or add columns. There's a ton of ways to clean up data. And we're going to do a couple really simple ones. In this case, it's not necessarily cleaning up because this data is really clean as it is. You can just look at it. The names are all in order. The departments are in order. There's nothing wacky about it. But sometimes data is dirty, so I'm going to make believe that it is just to walk through a few steps, right? And I navigated back to the page with all the data, and I'm going to turn off the filter. Again, you turn off the filter by highlighting a header, clean the filter. There we go. Okay, a lot of times you clean up data just to make it look uniform in case you post it online, which in this case we post at the Observer the salary data online. And sometimes, not in this case, but sometimes the data would come as some names are capitalized, some names are lowercase, some names are a mix like these are, and just for aesthetics appeal you want to make them all the same. So how would we do that? Do me a favor, and in E1, create the column header called name underscore upper. And while we're at it, in F1, do name underscore lower, and in G1, do name underscore proper. And again, if you forgot from last class, you can spread out the columns just by getting that little arrow in between each one and double clicking on it. Right. Now say we wanted to post this data, but we wanted the names to all be capitalized. Or say the names came as some lowercase, some capitalized, and we wanted to make them uniform. So how do we get them to be uniform? We start almost all formulas in Excel with the equal sign. And in this case, we want to make the names all uppercase. So type in equal, type in the word upper, Shift 9, then click on C2, then Shift 0. So we have the equal sign, upper, Shift 9, we clicked on C2, or you could type in C2 and then we closed it. And you can see my formula also popped up here on the formula bar. And when that's done, click enter. There we go. All the names, all 5,000 names popped up in uppercase. And if you have an older version of Excel, you may have to click on this little box down here, and if you double click on that, all the names should fill in below, all in uppercase. Easy, huh? Let's do the same thing for F2. In this case, we want them as lowercase. So what do you think it would be? Equal, lower, open up the parentheses with a Shift 9. You can click on C2 again, close the parentheses, enter. Now all the names lowercase. Makes sense? And proper would be what C2 already is. Capitalize the first letter of each name, but we're going to change it back to that, and that is equal, proper, Shift 9. I'm going to click on this one actually, and then close it and enter. And the reason I clicked on F2 was because this one's already a proper. This one, it was reading the lowercase. There, you wrote your first formulas. Congratulations. It was easy, right? You had equal upper, then the cell you wanted, equal lower, then the cell you wanted, and then equal proper, the cell you wanted. In a matter of a second, we did that for 5,000 records. Now the last two things I want to do with this data set before we close it, something that we did yesterday, and just to get into the practice of doing it, I'm going to change the salary to a currency. Again, you click on the D in this case, and you go to Home if you're not already, and then it's a general format, currency, and I'm going to get rid of the trailing zeros. So now my currency's up. And say, for instance, that the county calls you up after they gave you the data and they say, you know, sorry, but we left one person out, and they email you the person's name. So we want to add them. Of course, you can add that person to the very bottom of the spreadsheet. Click down here and start typing. But if for one reason or another you want to add them to the middle, you highlight whatever row number that you want, right click, insert, all of a sudden I inserted a row. And now I can fill it out. So let's just say it's finance, and he's an accountant, and his name's Gavin, and so on and so on. I'm going to delete that because I don't need it. But that's how you insert a row. Right click, insert. Same thing with deleting. Right click, delete. Easy, huh? Your first formulas, we cleaned up the data. This cleaning up was more for just looks, to make things uniform, not necessarily for us to analyze it, but we'll start doing that with the next data set. So let's get to that next data set, and before we do that, let's save this file and close it out. That way, if we have any questions or if we want to review it, or I might want to play around with this later on for other things that we learn, we'll have it in our folder ready to go. And let's create a new file, Excel sheet. New, and call it Wake Gun Crimes Original. Remember, even with the homework, you want to create two documents, an original and one that you're working on, just in case you screw something up, you still have the original back there as a safety net. So let's import the text file called Wake Gun Crimes that I posted. To do that, open up the Excel sheet, and practice makes perfect, so let's import this sucker data from text. Navigate down to it. Wake Gun Crimes, there we go. Import. Now what we could have done is look at this as a text file itself. You may want to do that just to sort of get the layout, but since we're getting so good at importing, we skip that step, and we can see that it was a tad delimited. And I'm going to switch things up a bit. And if you have this option, older versions of Excel may not, but if you do have this option, click on Transform Data. Because we want to change some things to the format of the columns before we actually import it. Now, why is that important? Say, for instance, you have a field like this, the zip code, right? And where I come from up in New Jersey, zip codes start with O. So my zip code for my hometown was 08244. Well, right here, Excel thinks it's smart, and it's labeling that as a number. You can see the 1, 2, 3 right there, and not an ABC. So Excel is saying, okay, that must be a number. Well, what happens when you have a zip code and it's treated like a number? Those initial numbers, the zeros in this case, are dropped off. So my zip code would be 244. Obviously that's incorrect. So we have to change the format for this. So how do you change the format for a column before you import it? Click on, in this case, the 1, 2, 3. There we go. And you can see that it's reading it as a number. I don't want that. I want to change it to text. Now it's going to read it as text. And I'm going to say, yes, keep my replacement. And I would also have to do this with the date of birth, DOB. It's reading these as numbers. Obviously, date of births aren't numbers. So click on the 1, 2, 3. Change it to text. Say, yep, that's what I want. And let's keep scrolling just to make sure. This is a charge date, the date that a person was charged with a crime, changing that to a text. Yep. That's all right, because that's a bonded amount, so I can keep that as a number. Everything looks good from there. Now, if you don't have this option in your Excel to do it before you import it, that's fine. We can go and change it while we have it loaded. So don't worry about it. We'll walk through those steps too. And then click Close and Load. And Excel is loading the Wake Gun Crimes data. There we go. 9,935 records, no errors, beautiful. I'm going to get rid of the banding. You can keep it if you want. And I'm going to turn the filter off by clicking on Home, Filter. There we go. So before I go over the data itself, these are now numbers, are treated like numbers, as are these, and as are the date of birth. If you do not have that option to change the format before you imported the data, click on the G and then change it right here as a text. Sound good? So let's take a look at this data to get a better understanding of what we're actually dealing with. We already know that we imported around 10,000 records, right? And you would know this if you requested it, but what this data is, it's a list of everyone charged with a gun crime in Wake County from 2013 through 2017. And I can sort of see that right here because charge date 2013, and if I scroll down far enough, I'm sure I'll see 2017 at some point. 2017. Right? So we have around 10,000 different gun charges in Wake County. And we have a type. CRS in this case means felony. A CR means a misdemeanor. We have the person's name, address, city, state, zip, DOB, race, sex, charge date, the bond amount, county, all Wake, and the offense. And that's all we have. Right? So I'm going to save this, label that as all. Do me a favor, save this data, just like we did it before, save it as original, copy it, and name that just Wake Gun Crimes, and open up that data. Okay, take a minute to do that just to make sure that if you screw it up, you have the original there. Okay? Thank you. So, looking at this data, I as a reporter, the first thing I notice when I'm looking at this is it looks pretty clean, right? It looks uniform, and in fact everything is capitalized, so visually it looks good. But what jumps out to me are two fields that I'll have to clean up, not necessarily because they look terrible, but because I'll need to clean them up to analyze them. Now, what fields do you think they are? There are actually three of them, I apologize. What about these? Date of birth and charge date. Let's start with them. I know their dates, but they're sort of backwards, they're sort of flip-flopped. And you see this with a lot of government data, because this is the standard way government agencies write dates. They do the year, the month, the day, with no spaces, nothing in between. So how would we fix that? Well, do me a favor. Scroll all the way over, and in N1, type in DOB underscore month. In N2, or I'm sorry, in O1, do DOB underscore day, and in P1, DOB underscore year. So we added 3 new column headers. I'm going to spread this out just like that. Right? The idea here is to break apart this column, the date of birth column, right? And we want to separate it as month, day, and year so we can add it back together again in the proper order. So how do we do that? It's actually pretty easy. So let's start with the year first. Put your cursor in P2 and type in =, left, LEFT, open parentheses, which is a shift 9. You can type in G2 or click on that cell, then type in comma, 4, and close it. And I'll explain everything here. What this is saying is go to the G2 field, start on the left, and grab every character until you hit the 4th one. So hit enter once you do that. Bingo. And you see how mine automatically copied down? You may have to use this little box to copy it down. But I have 1980. And it's 1980 right there. 1987, 1987. So I'm fact checking myself really quickly just to make sure it all worked. I'm going to scroll all the way down. 1984, 1984. Perfect, huh? In a matter of seconds, I broke it apart. So now let's do the day. What would you guess the day formula would be? What about equals right? Open parentheses. Makes sense so far? Click on G2 again. Now how many characters over do you want? After you type a comma, just 2. Close it, enter. There, our day is populated. In this case, it's the 18th, and I can double check the 18th. Right here, it should be the 27th. 27th, perfect. The last one, a little bit more complicated. Not bad though. This one, for the month, since it's in the middle of our field, type in equal mid, M-I-D. Open up the parentheses. Just like before, click on G2 or type in G2, comma. Now type in 5, and I'll explain it, comma, 2, close the parentheses. Now before you hit enter, let me explain it. We're saying start in the middle, but start 5 characters over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and start there and grab the next 2 characters. That's what we're telling Excel to do. Hit enter. Perfect. So February 18th, 1980 should be the first guy's birth date, right? 02/18/1980. Do me a favor and save this if you haven't already, just so we don't lose it, because we did a real good job of breaking up the columns. Now what we want to do is add them back together, right? So let's call this field Q1, call it DOB final. And what we're going to do here is a formula called concatenate. It sounds goofy, but once you get the hang of it, it's a great tool and it's really easy to use. So we're going to concatenate these 3 fields in the order that we want. And what concatenate means is we're going to add them back together. So we're going to add the month, day, and year back together. And to do that, type in equal concatenate, and you can see it all populates automatically sometimes, so you can just click on that if you want. Then once you type in equal concatenate, open up your parentheses. And I'll explain everything as I wrap up, but it's, in this case, it's N2 ampersand, which is the 7, quote, backslash, quote, ampersand again. Then it's O2, ampersand, quote, backslash, quote, ampersand again. The last one, what would you guess? P2. You don't need anything after that, so let's just close it out. And what I'm telling Excel to do right now is concatenate these 3 columns, and you know you're on the right track when the columns actually light up. If they light up, that's great. So concatenate month, day, and year, and in between each one, add a backslash, right? You can have a space there, you can have a dash, you can have a period, you can have whatever you want. But dates obviously use the backslash, so I'm adding a backslash there. And once you do that, hit enter. Bingo. Perfect. 02/18/1980. Looks a lot better than 1980 02/18, doesn't it? So that was the right, left, and mid formula. But since we're working with dates, let's actually write a date formula. And to do that, do me a favor and highlight your DOB final field and copy it, Control C. And I don't want to screw with this data, so I'm going to put it in its own worksheet. Control V. There's my, just that one field. That's all I want because I want to practice with it. And I'm going to label this month, day, and year. So if you happen to get a date like this in your data, right, and it's written out as a date would be written out, but you wanted to break it apart for one reason or another. You know, maybe you just wanted to separate years so you can count the year of the person's birth. Let's do that. So in B1, type in DOB month, go right down the row. DOB day, DOB year. So I have DOB month in B, DOB day in C, DOB year in D. And the goal here is to separate this date into month, day, and year. Simple right here. Equal month, Shift 9 to open it, click on your cell, close it, hit enter. 2. Now in my case it doesn't copy down, so I'm going to double click on the magic box, and there we go. You can see all the records. I'll scroll down to the bottom. All the records copied down with the proper month. July, there's a 6. So if you had to guess, what do you think the day formula would be? If that was equal month, what about equal day? Open it up, click on your date, hit enter, and again copy it down by clicking the magic box. Bingo. And year, one more time, equal year. Open it up, click on your cell, close it, enter. There we go. That was just a little side note to show you how to use the month, day, and year formula. And believe it or not, a lot of times when I get something like this, I do like to break out the year because I like to count things by year to see if trends are happening that way. But I just wanted to show you this on a practice worksheet to not screw up the data. So go back to your main sheet if you can. And again, I'm going to save that because I'm going to save both tabs. All right. And let's do the same thing that we did with the DOB with the charge date, just for practice, right? So I'm going to call this one charge month. If I can type, charge day, charge year. And in this case, it's in R, S, and T. So take a minute and fill out these by breaking apart column J, the charge date. And if you have to, you can look at the formulas that you already wrote in N, O, and P. So I'll do that and you can follow along. I separated mine. Were you guys able to? In this case, I have 01/25/2013, and just to spot check it right here, 01/25/2013. If you were able to do that, in U, add charge final, because we're going to concatenate it. Try to do it on your own, and if you have to look at your DOB final, feel free, but add those columns together. And you can see how mine are lighting up, so I know I'm on the right track. We'll see if it worked. Appears to, and I'm going to scroll all the way down just to double check. Looks good to me. Good. Any questions? Obviously email me or reach out to me, but that's the left, mid, and right function. It's the concatenation, and then we took a sort of a side step and did the month, day, and year. But now we're cleaning up our data. Now that's one aspect that I do all the time, is change the format of the structure of a field into a format or structure that I want. Now the last thing that we'll do, or one of the last things, we're going to break apart this field, the name field. Now what do you think looks wonky about that? Last name, comma, first. Or in some cases, last name, comma, first, comma, middle. And then you also have last name, comma, first, comma, suffix. So I don't know why the government agencies like to do that, but of course the layperson, we like first, middle, last suffix. So let's do that. What we're going to do to start with is highlight, actually scroll all the way to the top, and highlight the name field and copy it. So to highlight it, click on B, Control Command C to copy, and paste that field all the way at the end of your data. In this case, it will be in column V. So we're pasting the name field all the way at the end of the data. And I'm doing that because just in case I make a mistake, I don't want to screw up the original name field. And in fact, I'm going to save the data right now to save my charge year changes. What you're going to do here is a nifty little tool in Excel called text to columns. And to do that, click on data. So highlight your new name field, click on data, and click on text to column. Now does this look familiar at all? Sort of. See the word delimiter or delimited? So Excel is reading this one column as a delimited column, which is really smart, right? Because each potential new field has a comma separated it. Atkins, comma, Bobby, comma, Wayne, right? So it looks like a delimited field to me. Click next. It gets it wrong here though. It initially says, okay, is that a tab delimited? No, it's not a tab delimited. It's a comma delimited. And you can see in the preview right here that it actually separates it. Let me go back just to let you know. Say I click off, comma, and back on the tab. You see it's not separated. Click back on the tab. And then once you do that, click next. And I'm going to click finish. And look at that. Look how easy that was. It breaks it up to last, first, middle, and potentially suffix. So I'm going to rename this last, first, middle, suffix. Now I'm not done cleaning it up. One, I have to add it back together, right? In the right order. And to double check myself as I add them back together, I'm going to freeze a pane. Have you ever heard of that in Excel? Now to freeze a pane, say I wanted to keep this pane still, or this field still, as I scroll across the data. So to do that, highlight the field right after the one that you want to freeze. In this case, I want to freeze B, so I'm going to highlight C. Click on View. Go Freeze Pane and Freeze Pane. So click on C, View, Freeze Pane, and Freeze Pane. Now look, when I scroll over, B is staying where it is, which is great because I'm going to be messing around with the names and I want to make sure that nothing wonky happens. And in Z, I'm going to type in the field name, _final. And since I already did a couple steps, I'm going to save the document as well. Now before I concatenate this, what do you think I might have to do to clean up this first, middle, and name field? Do you see anything weird that maybe is a little out of place? What about this right here? You think his middle name's actually Junior? Huh? And let's keep and see if I can scroll down and see any other ones that might look a little weird. So I'm sure they're out there. So far they look alright, but I don't trust the data because I found one mistake already. So I have to put all the juniors into this suffix column. How the heck would I do that? Well, I want to group the juniors together, right? And the easiest way I know to group things is by sorting it. So let's sort the data by the middle name, just like we did before. Apple A or Control A. Click on the home. Sort and filter. Custom sort. We're sorting it by middle name because that's where the suffixes seem to appear that we want to change. Middle. Okay. And it's thinking. Now we have it a little bit sorted. All right. So I could scroll all the way down to the junior, but I'm lazy. Control F. JR. We'll see if that works. There we go. So I sorted the data by middle name, and I went down and I found all the juniors. Right, and you can see there were a bunch of them where the guarantee the middle name is not Junior. Look at them all. So I'm going to do something simple. I'm going to select all the juniors. I'm going to cut and paste them into the suffix column. So select all the juniors. Do a little scrolling, make sure you don't grab any other names that you don't want. There we go. Down to Juan. Cut and paste. Don't copy and paste, but cut and paste into the suffix column. There it is. Control V. Perfect. The juniors went away. Now if they're juniors, what else do you think there are? Seniors, right? So let's go down and find seniors and move them over while we're at it. I don't think there are as many of them. Likely not anyway. Okay, there's two. Highlight those two. Cut. Paste. So we got rid of the juniors. We got rid of the seniors. Any others that you think might be out there? What about the second and the thirds. You know, sort of like juniors and seniors. So let's see if they're out there. I'm gonna find them. I'm gonna do Control F, and I'm gonna do a double I. There we go. Are you all doing that? So sort by middle name, copy and paste over the juniors, copy and paste over the seniors, and finally copy and paste over the seconds and the thirds. X, V. Okay, now save that. Just in case something happens, we have our data saved, and we can now concatenate the name fields. Do you remember how to do that without looking? Why don't you give it a whirl? So in the name final field, in Z2, concatenate first, middle, last, and suffix. And concatenations, you can concatenate 100 different columns if you wanted. Just keep adding them. In this case, we need to do 4. And notice once you're working your way through it, you're not putting a backslash in between the quote and unquote. You just want a blank space because we don't have backslashes between our names. Right? Dates do. Obviously we don't. So there we go. Hit enter and we'll see if the magic happened. There we go. And we'll double check. In my case, I'm going to double check Henry, comma, Ronald, comma, A, Ronald A. Henry. Beautiful. Scroll down to make sure all our data changed. And look at that. We're cleaning data, guys. Cleaned up close to 10,000 records. We broke apart the dates. We added the dates back together. We broke apart the names. We added the names back together. We learned the mid, left, and right functions, month, day, and year functions, concatenations. Really, really good. I hope you all are getting this, and I hope it's sort of making sense to you. Now I want to show you one more thing, and feel free to follow along if you want. No need, but it's a good thing to know and understand and have in your back pocket. Double click on any of these names, right? And you see how the fields light up? Well, this Z field isn't really populated with its own data. What it's doing is reading these fields right here. And you can clear that by hitting escape. And you can do that to the date fields that we added. You know, this charge year is reading a function. You can see the functions right up here. It's the left function. And the charge final is reading a concatenation function. So it's not actually the data itself, and a lot of times you want the data in the column. You don't want it to be reading data from other columns. I know that sounds a little confusing, but it helps with working data and sorting data and whatnot. So the way to do that, and just to warn you that when you do it, you may kill off your second sheet. But the way to do that is to save your data as a CSV file. And CSV files look exactly like Excel files, but they're actually text files. There's a kind of Notepad or Word documents. that we see when we import. But they look like a text file. So watch this. Just to show you one more time, when I scroll over and I click on this, all those light up. And what would happen if I delete this first name column? It's going to mess up my final name column. Or if I delete the last name column, it's going to screw up my final name column. So the way to get around that, do a file, save as, and you can navigate to your folder that you want in case I'm already there. And rather than saving it as an Excel workbook, which is the original selection, save it as a CSV, delimited file. Save. And it gives you a couple warnings. And some of the warnings say, okay, I'm going to save it, but when I do, I'm only going to save your first worksheet. If you have any other worksheets like this month, day, and year, they're not going to be saved. That's okay. I'm saving it. X that out. Don't show again. Save. Now I'm going to close it out. I don't know why it gives you all those warnings, but it always does. There we go. Now I have my Excel file and I have my CSV file. So I'm going to open up that CSV, comma separated values. I think this is the right one. They look the exact same. And I'm going to spread the columns out. I'll scroll all the way over to my final name and I'm going to double click on it. See what happens now when I double click on it? It's not reading these columns. It's just reading the data in it. This way, I can take those and I can delete them. Right click, delete. And I don't screw with my final name column. So I'm cleaning up all the fields that I don't want. I'm killing them off. Delete. Delete. Got DOB year. Delete. See that? I have a DOB final, charge final, name final, and none of the working fields that I used to get there. But you also notice right down here, I don't have the month, day, and year practice that we did. I can save this. But this lets me save it and lets me get rid of the data that it's reading and just concentrate on the data that's in the field. It's called saving as a CSV file, comma separated value file. So take a breath. How do y'all feel?
Broder Ansgar?
Ja.
Det er deg, ja.
Ja.
Så bra, ok.
Ja, hei du.
Da fatter jeg det.
Hei du. Ja.
Ja, hva gjelder det?
Ja, det er denne her. Ja, vil du sitte?
Takk.
Ja.
Jaha.
Ja, så jeg har ikke fått gjort noen ting hele formiddag, ja.
Ok, nei, jeg beklager at det tar tid. Altså, skjønner vi holder på å legge om til et helt nytt system, og da skal alle ha hjelp på en gang. Vet du.
Ja.
Så du kommer ikke inn i den, eller?
Nei, den bare ligger der.
Ok, har du forsøkt å åpne den?
Ja, åpne den, altså hvis det hadde vært så enkelt, så hadde jeg jo ikke tilkalt helpdesk, hadde jeg vel?
Nei, det er
Nei.
sant.
Nei. Vil du ha en kopp varmt vann?
Nei, da, det skal være fort gjort. Det
Ja.
skal vi se. Du bare gjør der. Sånn.
Ja.
Da er du i gang.
Ja, altså så langt kom jeg også.
Ok.
Ikke sant? Men så stoppet det opp, og så var jeg redd for at noe av teksten skulle forsvinne, så jeg turte ikke å gå videre.
Åja, ok. Nei, men du skjønner at inni her så ligger det kanskje flere hundre sider med lagret tekst. Så for å komme videre, så tar du tak i et ark på den måten her, og så liksom blar du over på neste side sånn. Da fortsetter teksten der.
Jeg blar, altså.
Du blar, ja.
Men når jeg skal tilbake da?
Ja, da bare blar du tilbake igjen. Tar tak der, og så gjør du sånn. Der. Så er du tilbake til den teksten du hadde i stad. Ikke noe
Ok, så den
forandret.
slutter der, og så fortsetter den der, ja. Ok, men når jeg skal avslutte for dagen, hva gjør jeg da?
Da bare slår du sammen permene
Ja?
på den måten der. Sånn. Da er den lukket, da ligger alt lagret inni der.
Altså, jeg risikerer ikke å miste noe av teksten her nå,
Nei,
altså.
alt ligger lagret inni her nå.
Ja.
Da må du i tilfelle sette fyr på hele greia. Det er kanskje lite sannsynlig. Så.
Ja, ok. Nei, men for det er noe med det at ikke sant, når du har holdt på med skriftruller,
Ja.
så tar det litt grann tid å konvertere til å bla i en bøk. Ja. Ja, whatever.
Det er greit.
Ja, flott. Ja, men du, en til før du går. Jeg må bare gå gjennom en gang til. Altså, jeg åpner
Ja.
sånn,
Ja, riktig.
og så, hva du kalte det?
Blar.
Jeg blar,
Ja, bla videre.
blar frem og tilbake.
Ja.
Og når,
Teksten ligger der hele tiden.
ja. Og når jeg er ferdig, så bare lukker jeg den.
Ja, riktig.
Flott.
Fint det.
Kjempefint.
Ja, flott det.
Nei, men du, vent, ikke sant? Nå er den sånn igjen, nå får jeg ikke åpnet den. Nå får jeg ikke åpnet den.
Ja, det er fra feil side. Du
Hva mener
må åpne fra andre siden.
Så det er ikke likegyldig, det,
Nei,
altså?
du må åpne fra den siden der. Sånn. Der. Der er den åpen.
Ja vel.
Har du
Ok.
lest manualen, eller?
Manualen?
Jeg skal følge med som manualen som brukerveiledning. Det er sikkert den der. Der, vet du.
Å ja,
Inni
den,
der
ja.
står alt sammen.
Ja, men ikke sant, der har du samme problemet. Får den ikke opp. Åpnet den.
Ok, det skulle vi kanskje ha tenkt på.
That was a silly video, I know, but I hope it makes a little bit of sense in that working with a lot of data can be intimidating. Working with a lot of data and trying to find the story and be accurate in your reporting can be intimidating. But there are ways to be safe, ways such as working off a copy of the file, double checking yourself, fact checking yourself, and practice. Once you keep doing this, once you keep writing your formulas and your functions, your sorts, your filters, trust me, you'll get better at it, and you'll begin to understand the ins and outs of the data process. Sound good? Well, great class. Let me know if you have any questions. I may post some practice data for y'all, so keep an eye out for that. Thanks, guys.